So I want to talk to you today about the top mistakes that new photographers make. This comes from my own experience, it comes from my observations of other photographers, and it comes from a lot of questions that I see on forums, a lot of emails or private messages that I receive. Maybe they're not the top mistakes, but they are mistakes that I see new photographers make, and in some cases things that I did and learned from. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about, first mistake that I see new photographers make, is they shoot everything in auto mode. Now, if you've listened to me before, you know that I very much I can't say I make fun of people that say I shoot everything in manual as though it's some mark of being a professional. To me, it's a mark of just having wasted your money to pay for a lot of features on a camera that you didn't use. But by the same token, if you spent all that money on the camera, you should learn to use all of its functions, or at least those that fit your style, or that can help expand your photographic horizons. So to say that you always shoot in one particular mode or another, that's just not smart. You wasted money. Learn to use all the modes and then learn when to use them. Gosh, number two, not reading the manual. It kind of goes back to the first one. There's all of those capabilities of the camera, and if you don't read the manual, there's a good chance you're going to miss some of them. I've been shooting 40 years, and I'll tell you, this is more a case of do as I say rather than as I do, because I'm not a really big manual reader. But the basic exposure triangle stays the same, or if you can figure that part out, you know how to change the various components to achieve the proper exposure, you can go out and take pictures. In fact, you can probably do it in the auto mode and get some really decent results most of the time. You just want to expand your creativity. But it is a little embarrassing to use a camera for a while and then all of a sudden discover it has some features that you weren't aware of because you didn't read the manual. So if you're a new photographer, go through that manual, and believe me, you're not going to understand everything you read if you're brand new, but that's okay, because you can read it again and again, and with time and experience, all those words that didn't make sense last month or a year ago will start to fall into place. Okay, this one your spouse is going to be happy to hear. And this mistake is thinking you need more equipment. I'm a retired photographer, and for many years I would say I need, and I would refer to a lens or something, some accessory. And I would very easily convince myself I needed it. But you know, on the next job I'd just sort of pay for it. Now that I'm retired, when I say I need, alright, I'm bullshitting myself. I don't need anything. And I don't have a client to charge for it, to write it off against. So I have to really think, do I want to spend limited resources on this, and is it really going to make me a better photographer? Today's digital cameras are so good, and that basic kit lens that comes with it will serve you very well for many photographic situations. So wait until you've learned everything you can, wait till you've stretched the envelope on the equipment you already have, or wait until you become very interested in a new style or a new technique that you want to explore before you start spending money on it. Now, my grandfather gave me some advice, and he gave this advice to me 60 years ago, probably more than that. So it didn't particularly have to do with digital cameras. But he said, if you need a tool, borrow it or rent it. And if you've done that 3 times, then you should probably go buy it. But if in the last couple of years you've only used the tool once, or twice, you might be wasting your money to go buy it. Many professional photographers will rent specialized equipment, and there are a lot of places to rent them. You may have a local camera store, and those are disappearing very, very quickly. But there are a lot of online places where you can rent equipment from for a pretty decent price. And you know, I would suggest it's probably wiser economically to go rent something for a few days for $100, $150 than to go spend $1,500, $2,000 on a piece of equipment that you think you might need or that you'd like to have, but you don't really know if you're going to need it. This next one, I'm probably going to take it out. It's called I'm not buying enough memory cards. It used to be that the memory cards were very expensive and you had to have a lot of them. Today, like I'm recording this on an Olympus OMD camera. It's a micro four thirds camera. And I'm using an SD card, a 32 gig SD card. If I just shoot raw photos, I can get 1,500 or more photos on that card. So I probably don't need a lot of cards. If you're a professional, if you're shooting a wedding, yeah, 1,500 isn't that much, and you probably need a couple of those cards. But if you're the average photographer who even if you just go out every day and shoot, how many pictures are you taking that day? Probably not 1,500 photos. And if you do, I don't know when you have time to actually look at them all if you're going to do that every day. So whatever the amount of photography you do and however many photos you take, have enough cards. Don't waste your money on more cards than you need, but don't run out of cards in the middle of a shoot or a location where, gosh, I'd like to capture some of these. And now let me go off on a little tangent. It's actually okay not to take a picture. You'll sometimes see people I'll take a scenic route someplace, and at every little overlook or rest side area, you'll see people pull in, get out, snap a picture, maybe even not even get out of the car, roll over the window, snap the picture, and go on. It's like they have to get so many different stops in a certain period of time, but they're not really appreciating what they're looking at. Their job is to take the picture. I would suggest that the more important job would be to enjoy the experience. And if you only take that memory away here, that's okay. If you take it away here, that's good too. And in fact, I often say the reason I'm a photographer is simply because my memory isn't that good. But you don't have to take a picture of everything, but have enough memory cards. The next thing I would say with regard to that is when you get home every evening, offload your memory card onto your computer, onto external storage devices, wherever you're going to keep it or edit it from or work from it, work on it from. Get your photos there, and then when you go out the next day, you can do so with a clean card because you've already got and make a backup also. That's another mistake that I should mention. Photographers don't back up their work. So you go out on your family vacation, you go to Disney, you've got a couple thousand photos of the kids having a great time, and you keep them on that memory card. And then the memory card becomes full and you either can't use it again, you lose it, they're little, you forget and you format it and write over it. So as soon as you have an opportunity, get it on your main hard drive, because that's probably you're going to edit from, and get it on a backup hard drive. And once you've edited, store them online someplace. Now I live in Southern California, so that's earthquake country. If I have all of my backups on my desk and the earthquake hits, chances are I'm going to lose them. Somebody breaks in and steals my equipment. Yeah, they might just take those external drives that are sitting right beside the computer. when I was a working professional, I not only had I had backups right there on my desk. I kept another set in a safety deposit box at the bank. Those things are cheap, like 25 bucks a year. And the chances of the bank being robbed and my house being robbed on the same night were, I would think, relatively slim. And also I have online storage, and I don't want to go into that now, but I happen to use SmugMug, but there are many, many options. So that wasn't one of the mistakes I wanted to talk about, but there you go. Another mistake new photographers make is the wrong camera, or the wrong type of camera. If you're just getting started in photography, you don't really need a professional DSLR. For one thing, you probably don't even need a DSLR, even if you are a professional today, because these micro four thirds cameras are so good. If I were just starting today, and I'm not knocking, because I use Canon and Nikon, and I use medium format cameras, and I made a living with those Nikon, so I'm not knocking those at all. But these micro four thirds, if I were just starting today, that's what I would build my set of lenses around. But that's neither here nor there. Don't buy more than you need. If you're buying a camera to take on family vacation in the summer and then take pictures of Christmas, and you're going out and spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on it, well, give half that money to charity. If you don't need it, give it to somebody who can use it, but don't waste it. There are so many really, really good cameras available for under $1,000, and if you want to use interchangeable lenses, you can go the micro four thirds route, and you can buy some really good glass, good lenses for half, a third, a quarter of the price of what cameras and lenses with similar capabilities from Canon and Nikon will cost you. Another one it has to do with editing as well, and that's culling or deleting in the camera. Take the picture and look at it and say, oh, don't like that one, and delete it. Well, you're looking at a pretty small screen. It may very well be a terrible photo, but I generally wait till I get home, put them up on my monitor, and look at them. Because a lot of times you'll find things that you didn't see on the back of your camera that can make that a worthwhile photograph to keep. So I don't edit in the field in that sense. The last one is simply not using your camera enough. You bought it, you had an interest in photography, you can read about it all you want, but until you take it out of the box, take the lens cap off, and start taking pictures, you're not going to learn much. I should also add that going out and taking 1,000 photographs in an afternoon doesn't really teach you anything about photography. It just sort of exercises this finger. Once you take the picture, take it back, look at it. Is it what you expected? If it is, great, you accomplished it. If it isn't what you expected, why not? And how do you make adjustments to achieve whatever your vision was in the first place? So, as you'll hear me say often, the mark of a professional is being able to first see it in your mind, have the vision, and then being able to capture it, and then being able to capture it again and again and again. Now you're starting to become a good photographer. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much.